All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Locker Room to Boardroom, the podcast. We are so excited for today and a little different environment today, but I like it. It's good to mix things up. It's good to change things around. All right. And I got, as always, Michael. Michael's with me. Mike Daniels, our co-founder, my business partner, is with us. And we are always excited to have Michael's insights. And today we are very excited about our conversation. We have Brandi Brawner on. She is a former Michigan softball player turned into the entrepreneurial world, jumped into real estate, sales in the maritime industry, just building all these different businesses and crushing it. And so we are very
Yes.
excited for this today. Brandi, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on here with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with you all and just excited to be a part of this.
Oh, it's fun. We like to have our fun. And so we always like to start these things out by talking just a little bit about your childhood and how did you grow up? How did you get introduced to sports, organized sports, all those fun things?
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in Houston. I'm still here. And so playing outside all day, every day was kind of the norm. And so a lot of my childhood memories really were being outside, being in the front yard, being in the street, playing everything you could possibly play. But I also have an older brother and an older sister. And my older brother was basically my idol growing up. And so everything that he did, I wanted to do. So even though I was very fortunate, my parents let me play basically everything. I mean, I did karate and horseback riding lessons and um, literally you name it, I probably played it. But I really loved baseball because my brother played baseball. And I
Oh,
actually, some of my favorite childhood memories were putting on the extra uniform and like putting my hair under a hat because I was always wanting to play on my brother's team. So I actually played baseball till I was 10 and I played
Okay.
competitive baseball for a year before basically my family was like, okay, it's time to make the transition. My parents tricked me into softball, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to go to play softball now with the girls. But I found out obviously there's a lot of very competitive female athletes out there, and so I made that transition. Continued to play, all the sports in middle school. Um, Played, competitive softball basically from 10 years old on, but basketball was my second love, and so I really enjoyed that. But yeah, then kind of went through the recruiting process and got to continue to play softball in college, which was amazing.
yeah, that's awesome. I got to say, first and foremost, it's awesome to have three babies on this call. I have an older brother and older sister. Michael is the same. So it's always good. It's always
Oh
good. We
yeah.
like to stick together. But
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. And growing up outside, I mean, it's the way it should be. It's I like to kick my kids outside and go get outside and play, right? And that was when we grew up, right? It was go find the house with all the bikes in front of it, and that's how you knew who your friends are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's awesome. And so with, we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier. With growing up in Texas, sports are a little
Hmm.
different. So how
Sure.
was the competitive like softball circuit or basketball circuit or just all those sports growing up in a state like that? Because it is definitely vastly different than Colorado.
Yeah. I do think that it's changed a lot, you know, back in my day. I will say that there was a lot of opportunities to play, but especially I would say whenever it came to softball, it was basically whenever you were ready to be seen by the colleges. And for me, it was kind of eighth grade, ninth grade was whenever I was ready to compete at that level, I would say, with the high school girls, basically. You were kind of in the Houston area, you were on one of four teams, and those were the top teams in Houston. Um, in fact, one of my favorite stories, I tore my labrum, and so I was out for 9 months, and I was going to try out for these teams, still not 100% ready to go. And so I kind of went with a resume basically, and was like, I really want to be on one of these teams. I can only do so much. Please take me. These are some of the things I've done, and these are the coaches I played for, and so on. And so I joined this team, and the first practice I went out there, and my coach put me at second base, and I had been playing shortstop basically, all the time prior to that. And I got out of practice, and my dad said, "Well, how'd you think it went?" And I said, "Well, Dad, Coach Kim wants me to play second." And my dad said, okay, well, you're either going to beat out their shortstop, who, by the way, Brittany Walker went to Florida, stud, You can either go try to beat her out or you're going to be the best damn second baseman that you can be. And I kind of carry that into everything that I do now. I think, again,
Mhm.
now I think there's a lot of parents, and I'll say this because I coached it. I played with some of them maybe, but
Mhm.
that will say, oh, well, you're the best shortstop. So yeah, I want you to be the shortstop. So since you're not happy and I'm not happy, let's go over to this team. And
True.
so you see a lot more of that versus, hey, you're a part of this. If you want to win that spot, go win that spot. And again, I think that there is just a lot more talent. I think softball has grown, so there is a lot more teams that's available.
Sure.
Obviously, the recruiting process has changed, but truly, that's kind of how it was growing up. Was whenever you were ready, you were a part of this top four team. You were traveling the country, playing the best of the best. So if
Mhm.
you think from
Dang.
yeah, 2010 to 2014, all those girls that were in the World Series, I probably had played them at some point or played with them at some point because that was kind of the top talent. Where now, again, I think there truly is so much more talent and so many more opportunities that it's harder. It's harder to just have those top four teams.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's so awesome. It's funny that you touched on the I want my kid to bat three hole and play shortstop. That is definitely a big problem out there today. But yeah, and so then with you growing up, obviously in Texas, did you just play year round? Like Colorado, I mean, I look outside right now and there's snow on the ground. So we got shut down on our outdoor sports for a good portion of the year. It's a little
Mhm.
bit different down there, even though it was what, just like 30 degrees down there. Um,
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's still a little chilly. And when I say that, I mean it's 55 today. But yeah, we had a little cold spell come through. But for the most part, yes, it was year round, and we would have our little breaks. Again, I think that this has changed a little bit, but coaches really were enthusiastic about you being a multi-sport athlete. So if you were a volleyball player, they knew that there was going to be some athletes that in the fall were going to spend a little bit more time in volleyball.
Yeah.
And for me in the spring, it was basketball. And so that was kind of accepted and again, encouraged. Where I would say
Sure.
now it's one of my biggest pet peeves again on the coaching side is when coaches don't welcome that. And again, I think that there is a balance because when you're a part of a team, you want to show up. But again, I think when you're playing year round, that doesn't mean that you need to be playing every single weekend, 8 games a weekend. And some parents, again, whenever I was coaching and I was doing, one practice a week and 2 tournaments a month, there were parents that were like, we want more. We want to practice more. We want to play more. I personally think some of that is a result of those kids aren't really doing as much at home as I was growing up.
Sure.
There was a lot of individual work happening and me getting better on my own or even lessons. Like I really didn't do lessons until I was in high school and I took it upon myself to go out and hit and ask my dad to hit me ground balls and all of that stuff. But now it's like they want everything fed to them. And I think
Yeah.
that might be one of the challenges too for athletes now is they're so used to always having that correction in their ear. But whenever you go face that pitcher that's throwing that drop ball, you have to know how to make that adjustment on your own. You can't wait for it to be coached pitch by pitch. And
Mm.
so
Mm.
yeah, it's again, yes, year round, but it's again, it was so nice because we could play at any time, but also we could still enjoy the other sports.
Right.
yeah,
That's
that's a good way to be.
Yeah.
absolutely. And I want to touch on something. You had mentioned you tore the labrum in your shoulder. I tore the labrum in my hip. I think Jake still has a labral tear. Is that correct, Jake?
Yeah, I got a slap tear. It's
Yeah.
got enough scar tissue in there now.
So it's built in. It's part of his body. It's just
Yeah.
is what it is. How young were you when you did that? And was there like did was that from? Do you think was that from too much training, or was that just a freak? Just
Yeah.
happened from
Yeah.
normal? Talk about that and the rehab, the
Yeah.
rehab.
Yeah. This is such a good question. So I do think that there was a specific incident because I remember feeling like, oh, my shoulder feels, whenever you're just throwing, you're like, doesn't feel right. Maybe you can't even put your finger on what it is. But
Right.
I was actually at a national tournament. I was playing center field through home, and I was like, ooh, like it just felt different.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I continued to play. And whenever it was my freshman year in high school, I was playing shortstop, and it was really difficult for me to make these throws. And again, I just my arm was hurting and it was so bad that then my high school coach moved me to second base. And then I'll never forget we were playing
Oh,
Kingwood High School. They had some really good athletes at the time. So it was a big game for us. And I threw the ball and I was like, I was in tears, which I never really cried back then. So of course my dad's like, what are you doing crying? And I'm like, that's how, like, it's bad. And so my dad's like, fine, I'll take you to go get it looked at. That's how I remember it, at least. He might,
yeah. No, that's probably how it was.
yeah, I do
Just
feel
like,
like it was like that. And it
yeah.
was completely torn from the bone, like
Oh
that.
man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were
Yeah.
you adjusting how you even threw the ball at the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
thinking back? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I remember like whenever I started to do backhands at short, and usually, I'm like in a 3/4 slot to throw it across the field and just being like that doesn't feel too good, but coming over the top doesn't feel good. So I just knew, and I think I was trying to adjust until it got to the point where it didn't matter. Like I could hardly, lift my arm.
Yeah,
Uh,
you can even. Yeah.
yeah, and the doctor actually said that it was most likely from overuse and not properly stretching. Which again, that's a big deal to me, or it was whenever I was a coach. Of we're not going to just get out there and just start going for it. We're going to go through this whole routine, and we kind of look silly. We'd be doing these, really silly looking exercises. So the other team's looking over at us in the circle, like, what? I think it matters. And I was out for 9 months, and
Oh
uh,
wow. Freshman year?
so I finished my high school season because at that point there was only a little bit of time left. But I basically left that whole summer, my freshman summer.
Mhm.
Uh, I was out, and I was actually I believe it was 6 months. I was able to bunt. That's what, because I was like, how can I get out there? How can
Wow.
he said, well, you can't swing a bat, but you can bunt. And so I went to my travel ball coach and I said, I can bunt. And we were talking before we started here that, in softball, we have slappers, which basically, use their speed and come through the box. So I was a slapper for a short time just so I could
Okay.
get a bat on the ball and show my speed. And I actually ended up being recruited as a slapper. And
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I ended up
That's
transitioning
interesting.
back to the right side when I was released. And yeah, but I will say, so the rehab was obviously, I mean, I was very determined to get back. Um, so I feel like I followed everything as best as I could, but I will say that was the best season I'd ever had, was that.
Coming out, coming
uh,
out of that.
I had
Yeah.
such a fire just to be back out on the field. I couldn't wait. I also ended up quitting basketball so I could focus on my rehab and on softball. Which
Okay.
was, very difficult, a difficult decision for me because I had played some varsity basketball as a freshman. And so it was a really big deal for me to
Oh yeah.
do that. And I felt like I had, I kind of found my way. And but all that to say it was well worth it. And I went out there, and that's whenever I started really getting, schools that were like, hey, we like her, we want her to come out, come on a visit. And I was like, wow, now it's real life. And it was, again, I think that all really sparked from like, I get to be on this field today. I get to go out there and compete. And it was just so fun. And I wasn't worried about what people thought, or, all that stuff that I think kind of was in my head maybe prior to the injury, but especially after, once I did commit and had all
Yeah.
these expectations, then I became more concerned about, well,
Hmm.
if I fail, what does that mean? What does that look like? And at that time I was like, I just get to go play.
Just so thankful to
Exactly.
play the game.
Yes, that's the best way to do it. That's when I spent 8 years coaching at Rocky, our high school baseball team. We had a sign. There's a sign right outside the right field foul pole, which is where all the players walk in every day. And it's a wooden sign and it says every day is a holiday. So
Oh,
we preach that you get to be out here today. It's
yeah.
exciting to be out here today, and that's good. But it's good to show the versatility. Look at that. See, adapting, overcoming, making all those things
Absolutely.
happen.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's awesome. And so when you I mean you kind of touched on it when you started to feel that next level was real for you. I mean, how was that kind of navigating that recruiting process, going through all that? I mean, how did schools start to approach you? How did you kind of navigate that recruiting process?
Yeah. So my dad and I were actually just talking about this the other day. I'll never forget. I only played for three teams, softball teams, in my career prior to Michigan. So I got to know those coaches and their families and all that really well. And Coach James was a very huge, he had a huge impact on me as an athlete. He really believed in me. He pushed me. His oldest daughter was a fantastic softball player and played with other legends, essentially, in my mind. Brett Reagan, who played at Baylor, and actually then we ended up doing lessons together at a facility, which is also cool. But I just remember looking up to them and being like, man, I want to be as good as Brett Reagan one day. And Coach James told my dad, and I remember I was sitting there, and he told my mom and dad, she's going to play D1 softball one day. And I was like, am I?
When was this?
No, I was in 8th grade. Yeah.
Dang.
And so at that point, had you already established speaking that you wanted to do that, or had you thought that internally, or was that a spark to say, oh, well, hey,
yeah, I think, like I said, I think because I did see Brett Reagan and Crystal Sands, and again, these are siblings of some of my teammates that were committed to Texas and committed to Texas State, committed to Baylor. I think getting to watch them play made me think, wow, I want to be as good as them. But I think that reality that could actually, or, the thought of that being my true reality was not until I was in 8th grade and I heard Coach James say that, because
that's powerful.
Yeah. And he really was saying that because he said, hey, I think it's time for you to move on and go find that next team so that you get those opportunities.
Yeah.
His second daughter, Jamie, who's a year younger than me, she played at Illinois, and his youngest daughter, Kelly, played at Mizzou. So that's the kind of daughter. Yeah.
So official.
Yeah.
So for him to say that and see that, it meant a lot. But so then I was like, and I told my dad whenever we were talking about this the other day, I was like, I know that's kind of whenever it was that, wow, like that could be me, but also, okay, what do I have to do to get there? I know that this has to look different than what my friends are doing. And I also was at that age. I think 8th grade is, even as a coach, it's that age where social life becomes more of a thing. And I started to have more friends, and then they have, stuff going on, and you start to have to miss more and make those bigger decisions. So I think that it was kind of that pivotal moment where I had this acceptance, not going to say that it was always easy, but this acceptance that, hey, I'm going to have to miss some things, some birthday parties or events or school dances. I missed homecoming every year until my senior year. And to me, that was it. I was willing to do that. I wasn't really even sad about it because I got to go be in front of these college coaches. That mattered more to me. So then,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a cool way to look about it, because it's, it's one of those things that I think it gets overlooked a lot within athletics, is if you want to play at the highest levels, the sacrifices that you need to make, right? And a lot of times people just get so focused on putting out now it's all on the Twitter. Look, I got offered by so and so, and putting out all those big moments. Yes,
blessed,
right.
So blessed.
But all those big moments, right? But you don't understand the work that you have to put in the sacrifices. And I remember my dad used to talk about that a lot when I was growing up, is, if you want to get to this level, you got to do the things that other people aren't doing, right? I mean, everybody at those levels is big, strong, fast. And, you got to be able to go compete. And, in Colorado high school baseball, if you're hitting 300, 400, that's not a D1 guy, right? And so you got to go out there and put in the extra work to be better than everybody else, work harder than everybody else, and do all those things. So it's awesome that you touched on that point of the sacrifices that athletes have to make sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm playing on that select team where, I'm surrounded by other great athletes. And I would say that was another huge blessing, is that even though I was one of the youngest, and especially at first I was struggling to earn my time, I would have Florida there because Brittany's going to Florida. I would have Texas State there because 2 of my teammates were going there, and Oklahoma State, so on and so forth. So being part of a team that maybe I had to earn my time or wait my time to get into that position to get my opportunity, allowed me to be seen by some of the best, college teams in the country. And so the first school that ever showed interest in me was actually Virginia Tech. And I remember my coach.
They saw it. They saw you. They saw you. They recognized you.
Yeah. But it was funny because I remember talking to my parents after, and I said, Virginia Tech, that's way too far and that's way too cold. And then I ended up going to Michigan. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually was at my friend's house whenever my coach called me and said, I picked up the phone, and he was kind of frazzled, it seemed like. And And he said, "What do you know about University of Michigan?" And I said, "It's Ohio State's biggest rival because all my mom's side of the family is from Ohio."
Uh,
Okay.
And
oh
so
man.
I wouldn't say that I ever identified as an Ohio State fan. But I was like, yeah, I know that. And she was like, or he said, write down these notes, Carol Hutchins, Wolverines, so on and so forth. And I'm like, okay, Maize Blue. And so I have my notes, and he said, here's her number. She wants you to call her now. So I'm like, cool. So I talked to Hutch, and Hutch is a legend. And I could talk about Hutch for hours. I could. But the thing that makes Hutch a legend, it's not just that she's the winningest coach in the NCAA, or that she has done some just incredible things for the sport of softball, for women's sports. And she's really dedicated as a coach, now she's retired. She was really dedicated as a coach to make sure that we knew that as athletes there, that these are privileges. You get to practice today, and you get to practice at this amazing facility with manicured, field, and then we got turf and brand new locker. Just like, we were so blessed, and she made sure that we recognized that, appreciated it, that we were, that this wasn't for us. It came from everybody who built the program before us. So all that to say, between my conversation with her, knowing that Michigan was just such a great program, that academics, I went on several visits, but I just knew Michigan's where I was supposed to be. And so it was really,
Did you take your visits in the summer?
so I did.
Okay.
I had never seen snow before I went to Michigan.
Are you
Yeah.
got him?
Yeah. I had a picture my senior year of high school. It snowed in Houston, and it was kind of like the weather that we just had, but it was literally snow flurries, didn't even stick. And I had my letter jacket on, and I remember there, you could see the flurries in the picture, and I posted it on Facebook or whatever. And a bunch of my future teammates that were already there, that were upperclassmen, they were like, "Oh, Texas, you have no idea what's coming." And
Buckle up.
I
Buckle
did,
up.
yeah, but
bundle up. That
yeah.
is hilarious.
Yep.
That is good. That is good.
That is hilarious. That's funny. It's amazing how many times I got asked after I left Colorado like if I went to high school on a snowmobile. It's like, what? No, it's warm here. Like, yes, we get snow, but it's 100 degrees in the summer. It was
Yeah.
it was a good
Yes,
welcome to
it is.
Colorado moment for Michael. That was like the first summer he was out here. We because we could see a bunch of the 14ers, the 14,000-foot mountains from where we're at. And, in the summer, they still have snow on them sometimes, right? And so it was one of Mike's first summers out here. I think it was 100 where we're at in Fort Collins, and you could see snow on the mountains.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
it's a surreal feeling when
Yeah.
It's definitely weird.
but yes,
Still is.
that's hilarious. That's your first time jumping into that
And
cold weather. And
the dorms I lived in, South Quad, they had a tradition. The first snowfall, they pull the fire alarm, so everybody has to go out in it. So they pull the fire alarm. I'm jumping up and down. Like, I'm so pumped. I'm like, snow angels. I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh
I called
my
my dad,
goodness.
and my dad actually tells this story too. Like, I'm like, "Dad, it snowed. It's beautiful. This is amazing." And a week later, I called my dad and said, "Dad, it's still snowing. This sucks." I walked to class today. My shoes are all ruined.
That's hilarious. That's
This is out of control.
It's not fun to play that sport. Catch one thin or right on the hands. I wanted to get in the snow to go play. But that's hilarious. And so once you got to Michigan and jumped into the D1 side of athletics, I mean, how was that transition for you going from your circuit growing up to now you're at the big time? You're at D1, big time D1 school, getting after it. How was that?
Yeah. Well, I think, again, I played with really strong athletes, and saw what top talent looked like. I really felt and believed that. And I also still had to compete. Like I said, like, I didn't jump onto the select team I was on and just immediately jump into a position. But I also knew that, the scholarship opportunities that I was given, and being at Michigan on a full ride, meant like there was high expectations. And so I kind of felt, I knew I was going to have to work hard to earn a spot, but in my mind, I was going to Michigan to break records and to to be that 4-year starter and to be that teammate that helps make things happen. And so I went in and I had a pretty strong fall, fall season and our games in Traverse City and all that stuff. And so I was feeling pretty good. And then the spring rolled around and you don't really know exactly what to expect. And I'm not getting a ton of opportunities. And whenever I do get them, I'm not making good on them. And I think I've really struggled, to be honest. I think I really struggled with even having this conversation for a long time because I felt like such a failure. I felt like such a letdown and not it. And again, that was kind of the story of my career was I ultimately became a role player. And I do remember I broke my hand my sophomore year, right before season. And I had a lot of struggles at that point. Like for the first time in my life, I was struggling academically and athletically. And they say in college sports, like there's athletics, there's academics, and there's social life. Pick two. And
Oh yeah.
whenever softball, I was struggling there. Like, okay, well then I can pick up more on my social life. But then I'm like, but this isn't fulfilling. So then I want, but academics was not going so hot. So there was just a lot of struggle, a lot of adversity that I was facing. And so after I broke my hand, I remember going to Hutch for our end of season meeting, and I was like, basically, do you want me to transfer? Like, I think I felt again guilty. Like I know I'm not doing what I came here to do athletically, and I'm taking money from my teammates. That's kind of how I felt, to be honest. And she said, you chose to come to Michigan, and I had you come to Michigan for a reason. That decision is yours to make. And I think, again, in today's day and age, I'm not saying transfer portal's all bad, but I think most athletes would have been whoop and out of there. And to be honest, I'm just so grateful I did stay. I think I learned so much through that. Again, those adversities, but also in reflection, I can say I was a pretty selfish teammate as a freshman. Like I was only worried about when I was going to get my opportunity and the comparison game. And again, I wouldn't say that I was consumed by it, but it bothered me. And I would say that transition kind of became like, if I'm going to be a pinch runner, I'm going to be the best damn pinch runner I can be. I better steal every time I get on. I'm looking for the steal sign. Like, give me the steal sign. If I don't get the steal sign, I might still try to steal. Like, I want to get to the next base. But I also we called ourselves the bench mob. And I mean, we would get hype now I feel like you see it more. There's a lot more energy from athletes, I feel. And I love that. I love that for female athletes. But it just didn't matter the role. If you would have come and met Michigan softball in 2013, you wouldn't have known who were the starters or who were the role players or who were the bullpen catchers. You would have just seen a bunch of athletes that loved each other and loved Michigan more than anything. We went to the World Series that year, and
I was about to say you had to be a good team.
That
culture. That's part of the recipe.
Absolutely. I mean, so all 4 years we won the Big Ten championship, and
dang.
Yeah, I mean, so I probably should have said that. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing, right? Whenever your team is successful, you want your team to be successful. At the same time, I'm at Michigan because I want to help the team be successful.
So let me ask you a question. Because what I've noticed from observation, you go from club, right, to where especially 9th through 12th grade, even 8th through 12th, you're chasing a scholarship. So, and then you go from you trying to get something individually to a college atmosphere to where now it's back to the team. Like, was it so? Because I'm hearing what you're saying. You got there, you want to do this, because that's kind of like the club. I need to do what I need to do. So was that a challenge going from like me trying to accomplish this individually to I need to be part of this team? Like that's the bigger pie, or that's the bigger picture here.
I hope even my teammates or the coaching staff would say I was always truly bought into the Block M. Like I was bought into Michigan. Again, I did deeply want to be a starter instead of a role player. I think again, if I didn't, then Like no one's there to have the popcorn and like watch. You want to,
Yeah.
that's why we were as good as people, because everybody on the team wanted that. But also, I think that there was again a mental shift for me that had to happen, like maybe some maturity to
Sure.
say, hey, also to learn to control what I can control. I feel like there were many practices where I would walk out of practice like I got 1% better today. Like this might be my
Okay.
opportunity. And then whenever you see those things happen, and maybe somebody else that's not performing, or you kind of see that opportunity and you don't get
Yeah.
it, that you have to be mature enough to say, I trust my coaching staff enough to say it wasn't me for whatever their reason
Mm,
was. And that's, again, it's tough, but like I said, it was never that it wasn't about Michigan for me, because it always was about Michigan, but it was also just that deep desire to want to do more, but also more, like I said, more than anything, just owning my role. And if my role has to be pinch runner or DH or whatever the case may be, like then that's what it's going to bench mom bleeder. Then let's buy into that and get everybody else bought in. And
sure.
I think that was a big, again, mental shift. It took a lot of maturity, but once that happened, then it was like, you know what, at the end of the day, if Michigan's successful, then that's what's important here. And because
Hmm.
I think that would maybe be a different challenge if we weren't winning the Big Ten, or we weren't, having the
Sure.
unbelievable seasons that we were having. It's not even that we were just winning the Big Ten. We were on a top 10 ranked team in the country. It's highly competitive. Like you go from being the best at where you came from, so to speak, relatively whatever,
Sure. Yeah,
to guess what?
that's the
So is
truth.
everybody else. So are the other 20 girls on that roster. And that's who you get to go compete and get better with, and go then compete against the other 20 at OU, or wherever you're going to play. And so there was definitely an adjustment there. And I, with the scholarship portion of it too, I would tell my athletes whenever I was coaching, when they were, especially, there was so much stress about the recruiting process there for a while. And the rules have changed, but they started recruiting like sixth graders at one point. I don't know if that
Oh,
affected.
Dang.
Oh
wow.
my gosh. Like we would have
Dang.
seventh graders and eighth graders on campus, and with scholar, verbally committed. So there was all this
Man.
pressure when I was coaching, 12 and 13-year-old athletes, and their parents were like, well, she hasn't committed yet, and she doesn't have a scholarship offer yet. And I'm like, I went to Michigan on a full ride, and it didn't matter. And I got to see my teammates, one that was a walk-on, be a starter,
Come, yeah.
and and not just that, but have Big Ten accolades and NCAA accolades, like, you name it. What you end up performing, or how you end up being utilized, is not based on your scholarship amount. And when you get there, no one cares what kind of scholarship you're on. No one cares what you did in high school, or what
Nope.
activities that you had. They care, especially if you're at a school like Michigan, they care about the block M, and how do you help this program move forward and be competitive. I would say that maybe, like you had mentioned, Mike, I think whenever recruits used to go to Michigan, that would be the question. Like, what can I do to contribute to Michigan? Like, how can I fit in here?
Sure.
Where I think there is a little bit of a shift, where it seems like, at least, that they're going and saying, how much NIL money is out there for me? And, what opportunity is there for me, instead of like, how can I help this school be better? Um,
Yeah.
I struggle, again. I'm not saying NIL is all bad either.
Sure.
There's a lot of positives to that, but I do think that it's created this shift in mentality and mindset. And I know for sure for Michigan, it's been a tough thing to deal with.
Absolutely. I mean, we just got back from a Dream Bowl with these college all-star guys, right? Successful guys. And so we're sitting at a banquet and we're talking to multiple families, multiple players. And I was talking to them about my decision-making process for college, pros
Mhm.
and cons chart. And it had to do, did I feel comfortable at Virginia Tech? Like, did they make me right? Was a vibe for me, a vibe,
Yeah,
energy. There's an energy
yeah,
at campus, right? Is it stiff?
absolutely.
Is it cool? Are people cool? Like, right?
Yeah.
Did the coaching staff seem trustworthy, right? Like, do my parents, all these different things. And so I had all these evaluations things, right? And so I asked one of the players, and my question to them is, because things are kind of different now with transferring, like, what is your filtering process? Like, what's important? Like, how do you filter? What's the most important thing? And the gentleman's, young man said to me, the number one thing is everyone's kind of looking at themselves as a business. right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the vibe of the campus. I knew some people there. I know some. It was everyone's looking at this as like a business. That was the first filter. I'm like, well, dang, because like if you look at it like a business is a bottom line thing,
Yep. That's
right?
right.
And so it is definitely, and that gets into what you're talking about in the club mentality. I think trying to get your like what what's in it for me? How can I? And I get it, and
Hmm.
we all get it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a different level of pride in the school and
Yeah.
being at the school, and we
Absolutely.
all get it. But yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah. Bo Schembechler has this, famous Michigan quote, but he basically talks about like never again will you play for a team. Like you'll play for money or you'll play for your name on the back, but never again will you play for a team. And it's unfortunately that's not what's true anymore. Like you're not necessarily,
Correct.
again, I think that there's a lot of tradition and I think there's a lot of programs that have buy-in. I'm not saying that, but still, a lot of people are still going to go where that NIL money is. When you're talking about a softball player right now that's making $1 million, like that's softball. That's not even football, y'all. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's
And she
crazy.
was at
It's
Stanford.
crazy.
Sorry, Jake. Did you
Just that.
you're gonna go get a Stanford education and you pass that up to go to Texas Tech, totally different education experience, but also you're getting $1 million. I think I might go for $1 million too.
I might
It's
buy get a
it's
down payment on the house.
yeah, that's a lot to put in front of an 18-year-old. That's
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
big thing to put. And it's funny. It's not funny, but it's one of those things. I mean, you touched on it perfectly that, one of the beautiful blessings of sports is how it teaches you these life lessons that prepare you for, you have a lot more time out of sports than you ever do in sports, right?
Yeah.
And, for me, one of the things that I appreciated the most is, when I got to Stanford, similar to you, I think, gosh, well, I don't know these off the top of my head, but it was like my senior year of high school. I mean, Mike said it. We won our third straight state championship. We were top of the world. I think I hit like 550, right? Just like setting all the records. I'm the man. My freshman year at Stanford, I hit 206. And
Uh-huh.
so,
Yeah.
but you went through it too, right? It's those humbling moments that prepare you best for life, because once you get into life, it doesn't matter where you go or what you do. Life is going to kick you down at some point, right? Whether it's kids or financially or through your job, or something is going to come that you got to deal with some adversity,
Yeah.
through the course of your life, right? And so learning those lessons through athletics, we were so fortunate to kind of stick with the program and build in there and build myself back up through the program. Now with there's that loyalty piece that, again, there's not saying everybody's doing this, but it's so much easier to be individualistic and just jump ship. And so you're not learning those life lessons because your ego's just getting so big. Being a rich college kid would have been the most fun thing.
It would have been
Oh,
hard. It
it
would have
would have
been
been
a great time.
it would have been the best, right?
Oh,
But
Oh,
yeah.
and that to be able to prepare yourself for, you could set yourself up for life from that, right? If you
Yeah.
do it right. Not saying that me at 18, I'd have probably bought some stupid things.
oh,
But
never.
there's Mike, come on now. Weren't you gonna put your credit card at the bar and just say, Mike Knight, let's
Yeah.
make this
Oh,
happen?
hey, there definitely would have been a Mike night.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's on me. It would have cost like $1,000. It wouldn't have been that much in college towns. It's
Uh,
like they're drinking like absolute. Like,
Right.
like,
I don't know, man. Stanford would get pretty expensive.
yeah, there might have been some wine glasses there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yes, yes. But
Yeah.
yes, no,
love
that's
Stanford.
hilarious.
Love
But
Stanford.
yes, those are all some great life lessons that you learn, right? And right. And one of the things that I know you touched on earlier was how important having the right mentor in your
Yeah,
life was with your coach through sports, right? But all throughout life, obviously in your career now, I know the real estate industry is big on coaches and in that life, but how important was it for you in that tumultuous time of dealing with all this adversity, kind of figuring, college is a great time to find yourself, and kind of find who you are. And so how important was having the right mentor, the right coach, for
Yeah.
you to kind of navigate that life change.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think most importantly, at the time in college, like I said, Hutch just spent so much time talking about life outside of softball. And so again, there was just this appreciation, and again, just this drive to support Michigan. So I would say that in college, it was more about push through because it's about Michigan. But I would say even Hutch and I's relationship changed so much after I graduated. I think whenever I jumped into coaching, I had this whole new respect for my coaching staff. Even though I had, again, had some maturity and some mental growth, I think I just had this totally different appreciation because I remember telling an athlete that worked her butt off, and I knew how hard she had been working, that for the third game in a row that she wasn't going to get to start, and we may or may not get you some playing time. And I know how hard you're working, but like, just because you're working hard doesn't mean you earn that spot. And I really resonated with me. I actually had a college professor that said, I spent office hours after I failed an exam. And I'm like, I studied so hard for this. And my professor looked at me and said, if I were grading you based off of how hard you studied, because you were in the extra, the study hall, the office hours, you would have gotten an A. But that's not how this exam works. You scored, you got a D. And that's just what your grade is. That's your result. And so, in athletics, it's the same, but it just gave me this different appreciation. And then, I got married and I had my first son, and I went to Michigan was playing at Texas, and Hutch, they were actually playing Virginia Tech. Oh my gosh. And we're so funny. So we were playing Virginia Tech, and no offense, but like Michigan's supposed to win that game. And
No offense
they were
Say
the
aloud.
higher they were the higher ranked team, whatnot. Michigan had just come off of a World Series appearance. So anyhow, they're expected to win that game, and we lost. I think it might have even gone to extra innings. Virginia Tech wins in like amazing fashion, squeeze bunt, slide, like it was crazy. And Hutch prior to that game had said, "Hey, come see me." After the first game, they had a doubleheader, and I have my newborn with me. He was, gosh, I think he was like 6 weeks. Like he was a little bitty guy. And so I remember being like, I'm not taking Ford down there. Like she's definitely chewing them out. It's not going to be pretty if I go down there. And maybe 5-10 minutes after the game ends, I look at my phone and Hutch texts me. She said in all caps, "I told you to bring me that baby." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." So I go down there, and one of my favorite pictures to this day is Hutch holding Ford, my oldest. And it was just like, I literally have chills right now just thinking about it, because it was just kind of, for me, this, I don't know how to explain it, but I knew that so much of how I was already wanting to parent. I have amazing parents that I hope to be like, but those were coming from Hutch. That was coming from this woman who really, I feel like in a way I was battling with in my mind for 4 years, thinking I just want to see my worth and see that I can do it. And, I want to make her proud because I feel like I'm so just fortunate to be here. And then the way that she was just holding him, and the way that we talked like as adults, and putting softball aside and remembering all the life lessons. It was, like I said, like I just have chills thinking about it, because I just remember feeling like, man, like, again, all that was worth it, because now I have this and I do get to teach my son these lessons. And now I have 3 sons and I get to teach them those lessons. And life has kicked me down a few times. I've been through a lot of stuff, even recently, that ultimately I go back to those lessons that I was taught by her. And again, I think one of the biggest things, I probably have said this without saying it, but it's the gratitude. Like I might have been through some stuff, but I have 3 beautiful kids, and I might have been through some stuff, but I have this job opportunity, and I have that willingness to work hard and to be a teammate, even if I'm not the team leader. And
Sure.
I think that opened a lot of doors for me. I think it's just, again, given me an appreciation. And yeah, I'm just, you do, even if you don't realize it. I think every Michigan softball player that played for Hutch, and even Bonnie, who's now the head coach, she was the associate head coach. Like, you're going to have those just appreciation moments when you step away from Michigan softball, because, man, the life lessons far exceed any championship, any game, any moment, which there was a lot of cool ones, but yeah, they're special. They're special coaching staff.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I think that it's, gaining that perspective is such a powerful thing. It's one of the things that, I mean, me and Mike have talked about. It's like every time I go back to Stanford, it's like, man, this place is special, but when you're in it, you're not in it. There's so, you're young. There's so many things going on in your mind,
Oh,
right? But so
yeah.
it's kind of hard to step back and gain that perspective. And, that's one of my favorite things about the individuals that we've had the opportunity to kind of speak and connect with now is that level of humility within people, right? It's the things that you got taught now, just that humility, the grace that you walk through your life with. It's it's cool to share rooms with individuals like that, like with yourself, right? Because it's cool people not necessarily just to work with, but to personally, professionally be friends with, to have your kids know, right? I mean, it's one of the things that I always like to think of is I want my kids to grow up knowing people who are good people. I mean, again, I think I've said this on every podcast. My dad's number one rule was surround yourself with good people. It's my rule. It's my rule for my kids, right? But having the ability to kind of have them in this environment is such a powerful thing. So that's an awesome story with Hutch there. And so, when you kind of were in that period of gaining that perspective and leaving sports, I mean, how was it kind of for the first time in your life there, not having softball? I mean, how was that step away from competing day in
Yeah.
and day out to the next phase of your life?
Yeah. So funny enough, I actually did not think I was going to come back to Texas because I had recognized how much growth I had had. And I mean, even outside myself, there was just stuff as you get older, you realize like, oh, I thought my life was like rainbows and butterflies, and you start to recognize like, oh, there's like real life. So I just felt like I felt like maybe I should stay away from home. And so I started job searching and kind of figuring out what my next steps were going to be. And I was like looking in Florida and I mean, literally everywhere. And um, then I had this job opportunity because of a girl I had been giving lessons to every time I'd come home. It was a family friend that, yeah, we would work together, and her dad was kind of, I would say, a mentor to me and helped me in a lot of ways with resume and kind of preparing for those next steps. And he said, I don't know why I'm trying to help you find a job. You should just come work for my company. And so he was in oil and gas and in sales. And so I went home to start in sales and oil and gas, and I would continue to work with Caitlin, his daughter. And then I actually took her to a tryout. This is the first or second week I was home from college. And I took her to a tryout to watch her because I'd been working with her at that point for 4 years and was so excited for her. This was kind of one of those elite teams where it's like, this is a big deal to get out here and try out and try to make this team. And come to find out, one of the head of the organization, I played against her daughter. Connie had been around for years. So she recognized me, gives me a hug and says, we're actually looking for a 12U softball coach. You wanna come help? And so I was like, I mean, that sounds fun. And so I didn't expect it to be part of my immediate plan, but I jumped into coaching, and then I was, then through Caitlin, then I started picking up other athletes, and then I was doing a ton of lessons. I've never had one job. Like I've never ever just had one job. I've always done something on the side, and honestly, I love sales because again, it's interacting with people and all that stuff. But I loved leaving my sales job to go coach and to work with these athletes. And I've found that my story and being young and cool, I think I've outgrown that now, unfortunately, I'm old now to them, but
forever young and cool, forever.
yeah, at heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, they thought because I was so fresh out and I had, again, Michigan was still top 10 in the country. So man, you played for Michigan. And again, I was very, I don't know, I would say reserved because I didn't want to pretend like I was this all-American at Michigan because I wasn't. I also couldn't have said, like I can say with confidence now, like, yeah, I played for Michigan. And even though I wasn't what I wanted to be, I did contribute in different ways than I anticipated, but I was a part of that program. And so I think I really struggled and, with that, but I would say even more on a one-on-one level, I was able to identify with the athlete that's a stud and should be performing. And every time she makes an error, everyone's like, oh my gosh, she made an error, singular. I knew what that felt like. That's how I felt in high school. Pressure's on, like you better come through. And I also could relate to the athlete that was struggling and in her head and had it all right there, but like just, had to figure that way to get out of that mental gap. And so it was just really cool for me to be able to plug into these different athletes and their different space and obviously share words of wisdom that came from Hutch and hopefully, instill those life lessons And so again, I have chills again. It's just so special. So yeah, so it was kind of interesting because I was away from it and I was really kind of, like I said, like almost reluctant to get into it because, well, are you sure you want me? Like, yeah, I went to Michigan, but that's how I felt initially, like, but because of my performance. And then I feel like I started really realizing that no, my strength is that is my story. And so I can share more and I can still
Yeah.
tell you what it's like to be at that level and what it takes. And I was helping athletes with the recruiting process as they got older. And, I think there was so much, I don't know, just knowledge that I could share from my experience, but also having friends that then were coaching college ball. So I technically retired from coaching just a year ago. And
Okay.
so I never really, again, like I never had just one job. And I think the biggest thing was staying plugged in because it's just whenever you love something and you find that way to communicate to kids in a way that's, you feel like they can understand it. But again, it's not even just about technique. It's about, hey, how does this relate to life? And how can I spend this
Yeah.
time with you to help you, hopefully we can maybe work on this mechanic or teach you something here, but what's your mental approach? Like, how are you
Yeah.
going into this? Because I think that pouring into athletes in that way was more of my strength than anything else.
That's amazing you say that, and right on point, because I was talking to my dad about this morning. Like, I coach my daughter's 11-year-old basketball team, 11, 12-year-old basketball team. I know basketball, and I'm teaching them the X's and O's. But what's more important is I'm talking about and teaching them confidence and believing in yourself and your inner monologue. Like, I
Yeah.
got this. I can do this. I'm doing this. I was like, and you take that into test, you take that into other sports, you take that into challenging situations. And it's like, so I was like, for me, the best part of coaching isn't them just getting better at the game. It's like working on what's going to last beyond the game. And so that's what I'm hearing from you. And that's what I've heard from Jake because he went back and coached baseball and did lessons. And last week, our gentleman that was on the cat, he's back into swimming, right?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
swam at Ohio State. So
I know,
sorry, there's
I know. We lost.
a little sorry, Michigan people listening, but
Yeah.
um, that working on that part of youth athletes is just so impactful, and that's really cool to hear you say that. That's special and
I think
lasts forever.
I do. I think I would say that the biggest lesson for me, and this is a more recent lesson, but I think that for me, sport always equaled worth or performance always equaled worth. So if I
Mhm.
had, growing up, and again, I had great loving family and parents that were fully supportive, but I felt like if I could get into that car, sorry, Dad, I know he's going to watch this, but if I could get into that car after a good game, I felt like I made my dad proud.
Sure.
I know now that he was proud of me no matter what. But what I didn't want is to have to get in that car after, I had a strikeout and an error, and I knew I was going to get an earful. But it wasn't even about what he said. It was more about feeling like I let him down. So if I could
Mm,
perform, then I'm making him proud. And I think
mm,
again, part of that was I knew how much my family also poured into their time with me, their finances to help me get to where I was. It was very important to me to be successful and to make them proud. And so then you go to Michigan and again, you have this scholarship and you have these opportunities at your fingertips and you're struggling. And then like, well, what does that mean? And what is my worth? Like, what am I worth whenever I'm not in that role or in that position? And then,
mm,
I graduate and then I meet a guy and then my worth's in like, oh, he likes me. He thinks I'm all these things. And so, again, three beautiful babies. I just think I loved that feeling of what I felt like he thought of me.
or-
And I wish I loved myself enough, even at a young age, to say my worth is not equal to how I
yeah.
perform, whether that's in sport or in academics or in a relationship or so on and so
Mm,
forth. It's so much deeper than that. And I said at the beginning, I thought um, going to Michigan, I thought that I was going to be an All-American. I thought that that was God's plan for me, was for me to be an All-American. And I think God's plan was for me to rededicate my life to him and
mm,
really, again, like have these moments where, again, when now that I'm graduated and I have those experiences, I can pour into athletes. And that's my message. Like that is my message. That it doesn't matter. Hey, if you go hit 5 home runs, that's cool. Like you're a stud. But that still doesn't make you any different on the inside. And I'm going to love you the same whether you hit 5 bombs or you strike out 5 times.
Mm.
Like, let's try not to strike out 5. No, I'm just kidding. But
If you at least get 3 of them, if you at least get 3.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, but
I'm
I do think
pretty sure I've done
so,
that.
yeah, yeah. I think that that's important. And again, it's easier said than done, I think, whenever you're competitive and all those things. But
Sure.
I think it's amazing that, again, whenever you have the success that you've had and you've had these accomplishments, and then you get to be dad, your dad, but you can also relate to, again, like that mental approach and going back to, I know how I felt. And sometimes that's the most important thing, is to be like, I just want to remind her that I can teach you a lot of things, but you're loved and that I care for you. And win
Yeah.
or lose, we're gonna come back and I'm still gonna love you. And I get to be your dad, and that's the best part.
Yeah, no
Oh,
doubt. That's
absolutely.
good. That's wisdom right
Yeah,
there.
that's exactly what I was thinking. It's just how much wisdom is, how fortunate those kids are that you got to work with, from having that kind of wisdom, right? Because it's too often, at least from my experience, you see these egotistical coaches or clubs that are like, we're big and bad and we're better than everybody. And if you want a scholarship, you come to us. And, it's one of my favorite things. It's why when I finished up, I went back to coach at my high school, because my high school coach was a lot like that. Scott Bullock, he's the best. But his thing, is like, baseball is great. I care a lot more about who you are as a person than what you do on the baseball field, right? And his big things on the baseball field is not about performance. We're going to be the toughest and smartest teams, and so it's all these things that you learn, and that wisdom is just so extremely powerful, right? And so
Yes.
it's awesome. And Mike, we were talking about this too, and you said it maybe better than I could say it, and so I might let you take this. But one of the great things that we've seen about these conversations and in dealing with these athletes is sometimes it is very hard to, what you might, give yourself flowers, right? And
Yeah.
just kind of realize how far you went, and the special things that you got to do, and playing in the Women's College World Series and playing for Michigan and all those things, right? And so it's so awesome to be at a place where you can kind of recognize the accomplishments that you had in the journey, and embrace that part of your story, right? And it's a very empowering thing internally,
Yeah.
right? To be able
Mhm.
to kind of understand that. Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything on there about talking about some of our conversations with that kind of therapeutic nature behind recognizing
No,
your journey.
I mean, you hit it perfectly. I think as athletes, it depends on the athlete and the personality. Some people are way more willing to appreciate all the good things that they do, right? They might
It's a good
maybe a
way to
little
say it.
right,
Yeah.
maybe a bit boastful or whatever. But in the same token, like I love what you say. I mean, you're not just your performance, right? And what I love about talking to all these athletes is they, through this process of talking, they start to realize themselves how much they accomplished.
Mm.
And not only with the performance, but what I mean by accomplished is how much did you dedicate into what you did.
Yeah.
That's the win, right? That's the win. You dedicated so much of your life, even at a young age, and you look back, you're like, yeah, dang, like I did that. I gave up 3 homecomings and I
Mhm.
went to one, right? I was willing to work my butt off.
Yeah.
Were my results in college or professional exactly what I wanted? Maybe not, maybe so, but it doesn't matter. It's just like you still did the work. You did what was in your control. And people, we all individually, whether you played sports or not, maybe you're just a not just, but maybe you're a parent and you're doing your best raising your kids and making your relationship work. You're trying and you're putting in the work. Like appreciate that.
That's right.
And so this platform is great for individuals like yourself to talk through your journey. And so hopefully you get off. This stops, and you're like,
Oh,
I
I did
did
that.
that, I did that, and it wasn't simple. It
Yeah.
was not easy,
Yeah.
and most people will never know all the things you really had done. Your
Mhm.
dad and mom probably don't know all the things that you did, right?
Yeah.
Jake's wife, my wife, nobody knows, but
Yeah.
we do.
That's right.
So we give you your flowers, your story. I know we're not just finished just yet, but your story is amazing, incredible. And, the fact that you did not initially get what you wanted at Michigan, you still fought through, that's the win, right? That's the testimony that people will hear in this. And that's the testimony your kids will hear and know, okay, sometimes it's not simple, but I'm going to do the work.
That's right.
I'm going to
That's
do the
right.
work, and so
Eh,
if you had changed course or changed paths, that testimony no longer exists.
Right. Yeah.
So it's awesome story. Love.
Yeah, that's a great thing. And so speaking of putting in the work, and so yeah, I know that you said you jumped into the oil and gas sales
Yeah.
type thing, right? And so, jumping into the sales world and now you're kind of still in the sales world. How did you kind of navigate your professional journey from jumping into that oil and gas side to kind of doing what you do now?
Yeah. So I will say, I feel like I've kind of been like this and as far as careers, because I've kind of been all over the place. But I will say there's like one fine needle that goes all the way through, and it's that every place I've been has come from a softball relationship. So my oil and gas job, again, it was Caitlin's dad, Lee Graham. That was like, hey, you've been working with my daughter and I'm trying to help you with the job. Just come work for me in oil and gas. And then I actually I was, I started coaching on the side, but I actually left that because Scrapyard, um, the place I was coaching out of, they started our pro team, which was the first $1 million deal. Monica Abbott, they paid. It was a huge deal. And so I got to do some marketing and event coordinating for them, but while also still coaching and doing some lessons. And then I was like, well, I love coaching so much. I might as well become an educator. And so in Texas, for public schools, you have to be a teacher in order to coach. Um,
Okay.
and so,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I got, and what's crazy is, well, we can go, that's a whole nother topic, but yes, yes. So I got my teaching certificate. I started at a high school in the Woodlands, and it was really cool because, again, another year of adversity. I was engaged. My mom was diagnosed with colon cancer, and I was kind of thrown into this role brand new. I was teaching special education, and there's just a lot of things to learn when it comes to that.
Wow.
Yes, and it was just the craziest year. And again, I really enjoyed all of those pieces I did, but the best part was whenever I got to go out to the field and work with my athletes. And
Yeah.
the head coach at the time, I was the assistant coach, and the head coach kind of let me take over the program. Like I was coaching third base, I'm giving the signs, I'm making practice plans. Like I was running that team. Um, and there was a lot of buy-in, and we were in a district that was very, very, very competitive. And we were kind of, to all of the Big Ten listeners, like we were little brother. We were the Michigan State, and
Get
and
them.
and Michigan was just across the way. But we again, we got some buy-in and we competed and we won some games again that, we were never supposed to win. And then a brand new school was opening up, and I said, I'm going to throw my name in the hat. Again, that came from, you were talking about mentors. Danny Ramsey, who's been a lifelong mentor to me. He was my high school coach. He actually was my wedding officiant. An amazing man. Still to this day, we stay in contact. And he was like, just throw your name in, like throw your name in, because you've got what it takes. I had this kind of lack of belief in myself. And he said, I think that go get the interview. And I literally interviewed, and they called me the next day. And basically they were like, well, we weren't really planning on making our decision this quickly, but like, we got to have you. And again, very fortunate to be with this principal and athletic director that I was young. It was my first, head coaching job for high school. And there's a lot of different things, than being a travel ball coach. And, but they believed in me, and they kind of were like, go for it. You've got this, and you have our support. And so I got to do that. I got out of education because this guy was like, I'll pay you your teaching salary to coach a 10U softball team. And I said,
Dang.
I was pregnant with my third. And I was like,
Yes.
we'll
Texas sports. That's different.
yeah, I'm telling you the business part, right? And so I also got to open up a baseball softball facility and run that. And so again, this is like softball, softball, softball. And then I kind of was doing a few different things. I was basically grinding to make money. And and that's my mom, sister, and I had always said that, hey, we're going to get into real estate one day. And my sister got into it first, and she just has killed it. And again, she's my real estate mentor and my best friend, you know, my big sister, and so that's been really cool to see her succeed. But I was like, well, since you're on the real estate side, I'm going to get in the mortgage side first, and then you can throw me a couple bones while you're out there. And so I got in the mortgage industry, and then
Okay.
shortly after that got my real estate license. And again, it's been so cool to, again, you know, work as a family, but have that mentorship and have that family, you know, and all of those things. And then really be able to kind of use my sphere of influence. You know, I've helped multiple families, softball families, with mortgage and real estate, and or even just even having those conversations sometimes. You know, I do enjoy, especially whenever it comes to mortgage and rates and you know, renting versus buying and all that stuff. I love that education piece of being able to say, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or no, you don't have to put 20% down or whatever.
Yes.
Sure.
You know, whatever that may, you know, maybe. So that's been really fun. And again, still
It's
in
like coaching
sales.
people in a different way, you know? It's
Exactly. No,
exactly
yeah.
that's why I liked it. I felt like I got to coach people in a different way. And now set on the field, let's coach you and educate you on finances and buying a house and all those good
Yeah,
things. So
absolutely. Yeah. So, and then, yeah. And then I'm in maritime sales as well. So it's again, it's nonstop, especially single mom, 3 kids, mortgage, real estate, and sales. I don't sleep like ever, but I love it. I love the grind, and I love being able to contribute. And I just feel like, again, I've been very fortunate that being on a real estate team with my mom and my sister and Cassidy, like they fully support. And that's how I introduce myself whenever I'm doing real estate is, hey, I have this great team. So then if, you know,
Yeah.
we know if I'm pulled in this direction, I have their support, and I do lean on them a lot, their knowledge and experience. And then same team, I have a great loan officer, assistant, and processor. So it's great that, hey, I can get that loan in the door and trust that they're going to help me carry that all the way through. And then same thing in sales. You know, it's like we get to go out and meet these amazing people and have great conversations. I know y'all have talked about it, but so often they're also former athletes, or, you know, you have those stories or those connections, and it just makes it so easy to go out there and, you know, talk shop, talk business, but also talk about life and all those things. So it's been quite a journey for sure. Hanging up the, you know, coaching hat has been a little bit difficult, but necessary with all the other ventures I have going. But you know, now I have my 3 boys that I get to kind of help coach every day after school, you know, in the backyard. And right now I'm still like wanting, you know, they want me to help, but I know that the time will come sooner than later where they're like, Mom, you know.
Never, never. It will never happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Never happen.
So I'm enjoying that while I have it for sure.
No,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you'll be coaching them for a while. But yeah, that's cool. And again, I like I feel like athletes a lot of times we do have that entrepreneurial mindset, right? I mean, we joke about it a lot that your first time of actually working 2 full-time jobs was when you were in college, right? You got that academic. I
Absolutely.
mean, you said it best, right? You got those 3 items, you get to pick two. So you're managing that chaos. So it's you know, sometimes as athletes, we feel comfortable in the chaos and just thriving and same. I mean, there was a lot of similarities too in what you were talking about there with your real estate team and the Michigan team, right? And now how it's this team element and everybody pushing together. And so it's just so cool to see all that. And so, you know, with that real estate side of things, I mean, I know that that's an industry, obviously, real estate, you know, where it's full commission, right? It's you get what you put into it, and you got to go out there and work and grind and do all those things, right? And so, I mean, just those sales models seem to be attractive for you, right? And so, I mean, is there a lot that you pull from your experience as an athlete into, you know, just that sales side, the almost a business owner? There's a lot of autonomy in it, right? There's not
Yeah.
a lot of hand holding. You know, you touched on it earlier with the kids now that there's so much in their ear, every single swing, every single hit, right? So what do you kind of pull from that side? That was a
Yeah.
rant. Sorry. That was
No, no, you're fine.
a
Yeah, no, I definitely think that I would say again, it's kind of knowing your audience, first of all. Like again, you mentioned this, it might have been the last interview y'all did, but you know, when you play multiple sports, you learn that you have a different role in each of those sports. You know, in
Yes.
softball, in high school, I would say that I was seen as the leader. And then,
Mm.
you know, I had to find when I played basketball, I mean, I got dunked on. That's my claim to fame in basketball. Brittany Griner. So,
Dang.
Stop it.
yeah,
Dang.
Stop it.
sometimes you just gotta be like that.
Oh man, that's not
So
fair.
yeah, so
That's
you know,
not
you
fair.
have a different role. Like I got to play on the varsity team, but I was basically my goal or my role was to be either fouling or shooting a three. Like that's what you're going to get your 2 minutes and then, okay, come back over here. And so that's kind of where I'm at with real estate, I would say is kind of, you know, are they renters? Are they buyers? And what kind of buyer, like what are they looking for? And knowing, again, how hands-on do I need to be and how much education do they want? So it's kind of like navigating
Yeah.
where are they at and how can I best serve them? And so again, I think that's what I actually enjoy is that I have all kinds of clients that I work with, and not every no transaction is ever the same.
Mm.
You know, same thing I would say, you know, in softball, even though I feel like I was a high level athlete, I still was learning things about the game and different approaches. I mean, after I graduated, when I worked at Scrapyard, Trip McKay came and helped coach the pro team. And the cool thing about working there is our lunch breaks, we would literally just go hit BP and he would throw to us and he's like, hey, have you ever tried this? And I completely changed my swing. I hit better than I had ever hit before, and I'm 1 year removed from college
Removed.
softball. So being that forever learner was really important as an athlete, and I see that very much in my sales jobs. I'm always learning. I'm always looking for new ways that, again, like what is the best approach? You'll see, like social media for me is a lot of just real life, and I feel like I don't have to be pitchy or salesy because people can relate to you when you're being authentic and real.
Sure.
You have 3 kids. I have kids. I mean, one of my former clients, now a very good friend, we connected because she also had 3 boys. And she was like, you know, I finally feel comfortable to like have a friend because I was so, you know, it's hard when you have so many. And when someone only has one, and especially if it's a daughter, it seems they'll just go sit.
Yeah. Yes, they will.
Probably read a book or
Yeah.
color a picture. Those
Yeah.
boys, though,
Yeah.
they're
That's
running somewhere or
hilarious.
trying
That's
to,
so funny.
so, you know, it's those client relationships turned into real life relationships. And again, I'm always so grateful for that. But I think that was just, again, being authentic and real and seeing, okay, this is how we relate now. How can I help? And I think that's in sales and in life. It's really like, you have a problem. I'm coming for a solution. I'm not coming to sell something. I'm here to give you a solution to your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good way to look at it. And that's the 3 boys. That's funny. It's definitely some chaos. That's we have one boy and one girl, and they are vastly different. But yes, it's but
I
no,
think
it's
it's a real thing.
everything that you're saying. I mean, is just so cool to hear, and the relationship based in it, right? And real estate is always an ever changing industry. Again, you touched on it, but rates and home prices and just where the areas and new developments, and it's the economy, right? And so it's fun to be in those ever changing environments that, you know, can constantly learning, constantly growing. I, like you, I think that my swing was way better when I was a coach. It was so much better when I started to coach. But you know, so it's so cool. And so I think that you know, you look at things the right way, and it's cool. It's very fortunate. And so you are with Remax, is that correct? Am I speaking out of line here?
Yeah, no, integrity. Yeah.
And okay, awesome. Yeah, we just want to make sure in case people are hear this and looking to get in touch if anybody's moving down to that area or in that area, I guess. Enjoying the
Absolutely.
humidity of Houston. We don't have that here, but it's cold. So there's
That's why
trade-offs.
we
But
go
so
visit. Yeah.
yes, but anyway, so with all that being said, is there, you know,
Mm.
looking at again, we've touched on this perspective and humility and, you know, just the way that you look about your life right now is what would be kind of you've coached, so you've probably done this with some of your athletes, but what would kind of be your biggest thing if you could go back to your 18, 19-year-old self that's going through all of that adversity? You know, what would be the biggest message that you would have for yourself back in that time, or a
Uh,
kid going through it, I guess,
yeah.
right now?
Yeah. I did kind of touch on it, but I think
Yeah.
again, going back to like your worth is not in your performance. And and again, everybody has their own beliefs, but for me, I think having a relationship with Jesus Christ for me is like that it allowed me to be free of feeling like I had to meet somebody else's standards or please
Mhm.
somebody else. It's, knowing that I was good enough in his eyes, regardless. And I think honestly, also, it gives you that conviction whenever you're not on the right path or you're not doing the right things. I mean, I still fail every day, but I think that as a believer, it allows you to have a different mindset and a different approach to life. And again,
Mhm.
even if someone has different faith or a different background, upbringing, I think it's trying to find something else. Because if you're looking at worldly things to bring you joy, true joy, or to bring you, you know, pleasure, excitement, whatever it is, it's probably going to be temporary if it's out, if it's worldly. And so I know that's deep, but and again, I grew up going to church and called myself a Christian, and I knew the Jesus story, he died on the cross, but I think that for me, it was really diving into my faith and getting that personal relationship. And I guess it would just be, hey, don't be afraid of this. And don't think that you've gone too far where you can't go back and ask for forgiveness or,
Mhm.
knowing that he's real. So again, that's deep, but that's what I would say is, lean into your faith. And if you're not sure what that looks like or what that means, that's okay, because you don't have to have it figured out, especially as a 17 or 18-year-old. And yeah, like whether it's what school you're going to or what your role is or what your job is. I think I majored in something in college because I felt like I had to, because that's what I said I was going to do. And then here I am all over the place because I feel like in real estate, I literally joke, like I finally found what I want to be when I grow up, and it took me some time. And I think a lot of people don't use their majors that they graduate with, but um, just knowing that it's okay, to figure it out, and you're going to figure it out, and your road's probably not going to look like this. It's going to be up and down and all around. But I think, again, if you have a higher belief, then it's going to really help you stay on track and to go through those ups and downs with
Mhm.
humility or, with some of that encouragement, knowing that there's something so much bigger than whatever it is that you're going through right now.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt.
absolutely. That's
Mhm.
awesome. And that's what I've never used my major, so I fall in that category.
Yeah.
Not too many of us do, right?
I
But
do. I do. I do.
oh, you do. Yeah,
I
Were
do.
you
good job.
I'm
sports
a
fan?
sociology. It's the interaction of people.
Okay, yeah,
We're building a community of people.
right.
So to me, these things are so interesting, right? Just because that's what I'm interested in, and it is cool, right? And insightful, and you're learning a lot, and you're impressed by people that you speak to, like your story and Jake's story, and everybody's story. Even if you're not an athlete, if you're
Yeah,
here and you're fighting and you're trying hard, you got an impressive story somewhere in there, you know.
right.
But these are, they
You're
we
special.
understand and we get it.
Yeah,
We get
yeah,
it. We miss the birthday parties and we
yeah,
traveled, and we didn't get spring breaks or the different things that
yeah,
happen. So there's a relatability when we just were listening. We're just like, man. Again, our conversation last week, Adam was talking about throwing up in the pool. When you get sick, you're not allowed to get out of the pool. You have to throw up in the pool. I'm like, throw up in the pool,
yeah.
I'm like,
Oh.
you know. And so all these stories is just like everybody's so impressive.
Mhm.
They're so impressive. And so hopefully you feel that about yourself. And I know you have, all your blessings and all your favor that you've received, that where that comes from. So that's amazing to hear. In the same token, I know you're thankful for that, but also your work that you put in and the foundation that you come from that encouraged the work and supported and all that. So shout out to your family members listening.
Right.
Shout
Yes.
out to them. Bravo. Well done.
Thanks, mom and dad.
Yeah. Thanks for the investment. So you get
Yeah.
ready yourself with three boys. Your investment days coming up back
Oh,
into
let
your
me tell
kids.
you, you were asking about Texas sports and all that. I mean, I don't know what it's like in other places, but youth sports, they're expensive. And so having three that they're all now officially in their sports. And yeah, I'm like, and, of course my parents are like, oh, just get ready. They're not even playing competitive travel ball yet.
Better, yeah. They're like, can we get scholarships? Can we get back to fundraisers? Can
But
we?
that's why we like NIL. That's why we like NIL. No.
No, son, you will be paying me back.
That's why I'm like, you love your mom, right? You remember what your mom did for you, right?
We're gonna dock your first 12 checks. Don't worry. It'll
Yeah,
just be automatic deduction, son. Don't worry. You won't even miss what you didn't have.
that's right.
Oh
Oh,
man.
that's awesome. That's awesome. But yes, no, thank you again so much for taking the time to jump on here with us. This has been awesome, and there's been a lot of great lessons and pieces of wisdom. It's been very insightful. And so we always appreciate hearing these stories and hope you had some fun with us. But we really appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us. And anybody in that area or looking around in Houston or Texas or wherever the heck they are, this is a great resource, for everybody to have out there. So we appreciate it again.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. It was really fun to reminisce a little bit and talk about all of it. But I'm definitely I'm happy to help. I'm excited for y'all and what y'all are growing as well. There's just again a lot of advantages to having someone like y'all being involved and help with that process for those next steps. So I'm proud of
Heck
y'all.
yeah.
Keep it going. I'm here to
Thank you.
support all the time. Of
Right on.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate
We
you.
will. We will. Yeah. Thank you again.
course. All right.
All
Y'all
right.
have a good one.
All right now.